Go, Bubsy, go!
He's got big ears. He's got big feet. And he's got a big mouth. Bubsy, now available on Sega Mega Drive. What could possibly go wrong? Ouch.
Bubsy is a series of platforming video games created by Michel Berlin and developed and published by Accolade. Apparently from now on it's Atari? I remember there being a website for the company and a Steam page like a year ago. Looking it up on the Wayback Machine didn't help much. I couldn't find it. I'm guessing the company went bankrupt and the rights went to Atari. Also, it's kind of funny how these old companies like Atari and THQ don't even exist anymore. It's just some other company using their names for brand recognition. I don't know who thought it was a good idea to use Accolade as a name, though. That's like if you rebranded as LGN.
Why did LJN have to make every NES movie adaptation? Couldn't they have given somebody else a try? No, they wanted to incorporate the entire spectrum of awfulness. Purple for putrid gameplay, blue for bad musical abominations, green for graphical farts and garb, like yellow for piss poor lack of loyalty to source material, orange for aren't you a fucking idiot, and red for high stress, anger inducing masochism. Put that all together, you got all the colors of the shit rainbow. Hooray, LJN.
The game starred an anthropomorphic bobcat named Bubsy, a character that takes inspiration from Sonic the Hedgehog and old school cartoon characters like Donald Duck, for example. As of now, there have been 6 games in the series, with the first game being Bubsy in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Or just Bubsy. Released on the Genesis, Super NES and PC. He is so goofy. You know, people like to talk about how annoying of a character he is, but I always just found him funny. It's the same thing when I play Gex, like, I don't know, I guess I just find a bobcat talking about some nonsense humorous. Anyway, as Bubsy, we have only 2 moves in this game. Jump and glide. Yeah, I don't think there's an explanation needed for that. You jump, you glide, that's it. One thing you can immediately notice while playing is that Bubsy is really fast. Like, faster than Sonic even. But unlike Sonic, the developers didn't make the game to be run through fast. The speed that Bubsy has is only there, so the player can run up slopes with no issue, jump out of enemies way quickly, or take long jumps, gliding through the stage like a bird. Or a squirrel, I guess. Do birds glide? I think they can only fly, right? What I'm saying is that you need to be patient and focus on what you're doing. I really enjoy how he feels in this game to control. He feels like Sonic but more precise. The stages are all great. I think it could use a bit more variety, I think. There's a town, a theme park, a canyon, a forest, another forest, and space. I think there should have been like a winter stage maybe? It's fine though, but still a bit of a problem. Just a nitpick, I guess. The bosses are good but nothing special. They might be the hardest part of the game. You usually have to hit them 3 to 5 times to defeat, which can be a bit difficult with the whole one-hit deaths Bubsy has going on. It's not something as hard as Mega Man boss fights, but keep in mind that you will die quite a few times before you beat any of them, since they are a bit lag based, I would say. I mean, just look at this. The entire game also has this Looney Tunes inspired aesthetic, which they nailed completely. Bubsy could totally pass as a character from the same universe as Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny. He's extremely expressive and so are the enemies. I like how when he stands still, he has this smirk like he wants to say, "I'm way cooler than all of those other mascots." And then you move him and he looks like a fucking idiot. It's not an insult to the game. Actually, you know what? I fucking love Bubsy. I really like the idea of you playing as some reject who was only chosen because they couldn't get anybody else. Feels really realistic to my life, actually. But in the end, it doesn't even matter. Dun 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 dun. The music and sound design are great too. All the tracks give out this vibe that you are on an adventure of sorts and like you are playing a good game. Oh wait. Fun fact, did you know Bubsy can get kidnapped in this game? Well, now you know. So, in conclusion, this game is actually great in my eyes, which is not something I can say often about video games from this era. I do think that the game should be a bit easier, especially between stages 13 to 15. If not for the password system, there's no way I would have been able to beat them. They are extremely vertical and it's kind of confusing to play through. It doesn't help that some of the enemies here move like they are the goddamn Flash. I wish they remastered this game someday. If they gave an option for the camera to be more zoomed out and the number of hit points you can take, it would be an instant classic in my opinion. Still, I think you should play it, if you can. I had quite a bit of fun playing it. Just 2 pro tips from me. 1. Always use the glide move. It's easier to aim your jumps that way, and Bubsy won't die from fall damage. Yes, this game has fall damage. 2. Take the upper path if you can. There are fewer enemies, and also the developers aren't trying to troll you. The forest stages that have water in them are the biggest example of it. Anyway, after the first game, they made a second one. Hey, do you remember when there was this trend with movies where companies would make a sequel to a movie that did not need one? And none of the actors and staff would return for the sequel. And none of the new people understood what made the original great in the first place, making it an awful movie as a result. Well, this game is just that. First thing you notice when you boot up the game, besides Bubsy's ass, is the horrible music playing your eardrums. Ah! I'm not fond of the music in this game. Every single song in there sounds extremely generic and muffled for some reason. Some of these tracks hurt to listen to, genuinely. It doesn't help that this game has adaptive music, which usually would be a good thing, making the game have more of an atmosphere. But here the music just changes every 20 seconds. They tried making you have a bit of a choice on what levels you're gonna play. You can pick the west or east wing. It's more of an illusion of a choice. No matter which wing you choose, you will play through the same stages as the other one, just with slight changes. Not worth replaying the game, that's for sure, but the choice is there. It's there, alright. You can also choose a difficulty level, which is just how many levels you want to play before you reach the final boss. 1 floor means 5 levels, 2 floors mean 10, 3 floors mean 15. The levels in this game suck. For starters, Bubsy controls weirdly. He feels off compared to the first game. His speed suddenly jumps and draws whenever it wants, where in the first game it felt natural. His jump also doesn't get stronger or weaker depending on your speed, which sucks because it was super satisfying to do in the previous game. Bubsy also drops really quickly after he jumps. It's jarring. Sometimes he doesn't even jump, I press the button and he just doesn't care. His glide feels robotic, but he does have 3 hit points now, so well, at least one thing is better. But actually it isn't, because the enemies can now take 3 hits before dying. The stages are always these big mazes where you have to look for a big marble that acts as a goalpost. They are all extremely confusing. I practically always kept on going the same sections of the stage by accident, and then found out that I was supposed to look for one single switch that opens a gate to the end of the level. It's exhausting. Unlike a typical 2D platformer where you go from left to right, here it's like you are playing Dance Dance Revolution. Left, right, up, down, left, right, up! Also, the enemies just having 3 hit points doesn't add anything at all. It just makes it that you have to wait longer to kill anything. And if that wasn't enough, the developers thought it would be a great idea to spice up the difficulty by putting enemies everywhere like it's fucking Christmas. Everywhere you go, there is like 10 enemies working towards you. There are 15 levels, but there are only 5 teams that repeat with each floor. A space world, a pyramid world, a music world, a medieval world, I think, and planes. You might think I'm a hypocrite for thinking that there's too little variety when I didn't have much of an issue with it in Bubsy in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but I don't know. I think in that game I didn't feel this because each section felt handmade and well thought out, like it's a place somewhere in that magical world, where here it feels like it was made in Mario Maker or something. I don't fucking know. Every level just feels like it's the same level as before. Oh, I think that makes more sense. Bubsy has in this game a bunch of power-ups. He has a Nerf gun, which I think is actually pretty cool. It destroys enemies with a single bullet, but it's a bit slow to use, so it's kind of situational. They should bring the idea of Bubsy holding a giant gun back, not gonna lie. It's pretty hilarious if you ask me. The second item is a bomb, which gets rid of all the enemies on screen. Kind of useless since you move around all the time and the camera is too zoomed in for it to have much of a purpose. The third item is a diving suit. You can enter a mini game thanks to it, where you can earn lives. Useless. Moving on. The fourth item is a portal. It can make you come back to the hub world. I don't know why this is even here, since you have to beat all the stages either way to get to the final boss. So like, what's the point? And the last item is a life. You can buy or sell all these items when you finish a level. You buy them with cards, which you can find in the stages, and also get them by selling the items you have. I like this system on paper, but the problem I have is that the only useful items are Nerf gun, bullets, and lives. You will never run out of the bullets because the game gives you so many. So the most logical path is to just sell everything and buy lives. Good that this system exists here, because at least it made the game easy. There's also 2 mini games which you can access by going through doors. Sometimes. I hate doors in this game. They either transport you to a minigame, make you go somewhere that's far away from the goal, or they just don't work at all. There's a minigame where you shoot frogs, 5 hits equals 1 life. It's a fine enough minigame, but it drags for way too long. And I really don't like the sounds this frog makes. The second is this moving an armadillo one, where at the end it gets hit by a truck. It's boring. This game introduces a few new characters into the Bubsy cast. Bubsy now has a sidekick, Arnold, a nephew and a niece. And I'm sorry, but these designs suck. Also, they barely do anything in this game, so why are they even here? The bosses have to be the latest ones I have seen, like, ever. The first boss is literally 5 normal enemies standing in one place. One appears, it shoots a projectile and disappears. Same for all the others. With each hit they appear and disappear faster. Hit all of them until they die and you're done. Wow! The second boss is literally the same thing. Maybe this is how Frieza became evil. He just played Bubsy 2 for like 10 hours and he fucking went evil and shit. The third and final boss is this pig called Onker in a mech suit. He's supposed to be the main villain in this game. A main villain which is only mentioned in the manual of the game and appears only once in the said game.
Amazing!
He jumps and shoots projectiles. That's it. He has like 30 hit points, I think, but it's still incredibly easy. Only took me 2 tries. You defeat him and... well, at least the graphics are alright, I guess. They aren't pretty, but they aren't horrible. It does feel like it's 3 or 4 different art styles just mashed together without any thought or reason. The manual looks pretty good, so I guess someone on the graphics team cared. Overall, do not play this game. It's really bad. The fact that the game functions is a genuine positive I can give it. Should tell you about the quality and the type of game we are dealing here with. After a mostly positive reception of Bubsy 2, this game had mostly positive reception? What the hell? At least the Bubsy creator agrees with me that this game sucks balls. After a mostly positive reception of Bubsy 2, Accolade decided to make another game, and it was called Bubsy in Fractured Fairy Tales. I can't believe I have to install an Atari Jaguar emulator for this. It looks like a virus already. Emulators. You've got a dolphin, a Super NES logo, a letter, a duck, and a random picture of a baby. Incredible. Absolute 10 out of 10. Absolute peak. Absolute fucking Bubsy 2. This will be quick. Bubsy in Fractured Fairy Tales was made for Atari Jaguar, which is a failed console that was behind in pretty much everything compared to the competition. This game was made, and there's nothing much to say about it, really. It controls similarly to Bubsy 1 since it's using the same engine as that game, but the design of the stages is like that of Bubsy 2. Messy, maze-like, confusing, and nonsensical. The enemies have these really weird attacks which you won't see before you are already dead. Also the hitboxes seem kind of screwed up at times. Bubsy returns to having only 1 hit point, which really doesn't work for this game because of the bad enemy placement, hit detection and level design. I like the graphics, because they look weird, but in a good way. It again feels like there's a bunch of art styles clashing, but I don't know, I kind of like it. The game has 15 stages divided into 5 themes. Each theme has 3 stages dedicated to it. I'm going to be completely honest, I only played the first stage. After the terrible experience I had with Bubsy 2, I just didn't have the energy to play a game that just feels like a DLC to Bubsy 2. I watched the rest of the game on YouTube and yeah, it sure looks just like Bubsy 2, alright. The music is alright. Nothing special, but it's not bad. The Alice in Wonderland song rocks though. It's absolutely amazing. I guess if I were to compare it to Bubsy 2, I would say this game is probably worse. It has better music and Bubsy controls better, but it's incredibly difficult. And while Bubsy 2 is an enraging game, it was fairly easy to beat. So does it really matter that you have better music when you can't even hear it? Because the game is so hard? Don't play this game. It's even worse than Bubsy 2 and not worth installing an Atari Jaguar emulator. That's for sure. This game is like on the same quality as Superman 64, but it's not funny, so it makes it even worse than that.
What do we have here? These guys must be leftovers from one of the lizard's experiments. These guys sure know how to mess up the place. Can we talk about this?
Before Bubsy 2 hit the charts, there was actually made a TV pilot starring Bubsy the Bobcat and other characters from Bubsy 2. It was made in 1993 and aired on Fox 53. It's also available in the PC port of Bubsy 1, and it's on YouTube too, in good and bad quality. I'm mentioning it because I worked at one point on a few scenes for the cancelled reanimation project of the episode. I'm gonna only show the screenshots of my work because, if I had to be honest, it's not my proudest work. I was new to drawing and animation at the time and I don't feel like showing the full clips because, like I said, they aren't that good and I drew that stuff like 5 years ago. Anyway, the pilot. It's bad. The animation is pretty good for starters. It was animated by Sei Young Animation, which you may know for making
Do the Mario!
It runs into the same problems as those other shows, where some of these frames look unintentionally goofy. The biggest issues this cartoon has are the story and its characters. The story goes like this. Bubsy wakes up and goes to watch TV. He finds a channel where some nerd talks about his invention. A helmet that can do anything you imagine. For example, teleport you. Make roller coaster rides and trucks out of thin air. He says he needs someone to test the helmet, so Bubsy goes with his squad to test it. He tests the helmet and everyone ends up in the air. Then we have like 10 minutes of the guys using the helmet, making whatever the writers thought of. Bubsy captures the bad guys that were trying to steal the invention. Do you see how unengaging the story is? After the first 2 minutes of the episode, it becomes extremely boring. Nothing interesting happens and it doesn't help that all the characters are annoying and generic. Plus, some of these designs are atrocious. Jeez. Even Bubsy, the main character mind you, sucks here. It feels like every 2 minutes the writers change his personality to fit the script. It's all a mess. This is probably why I chose only scenes from the first 2 minutes of the episode when I was working on the reanimation project. Everything else is just unbearable. You can watch it on YouTube if you want to, but it's not worth your time. Watch the Hunter x Hunter pilot instead. It's fucking awesome and it's the same length, literally. Kurapika has brown hair for some reason there and Laura is a badass for once. It's cool, watch it. You know, it's kind of weird how nobody talks about the 90s version of Hunter x Hunter. It has way better art style, animation, voice acting and atmosphere compared to the 2011 version. It's a shame because I've got no one to talk about it. Everybody always talks about the 2011 version of the comic, but never this one. It kinda reminds me of this cool Game Boy game based on the Batman animated series. The game is actually pretty decent and not bad at all, but nobody talks about it. I kind of wonder now if Bubsy had a game on the Game Boy. I mean, the series was still somewhat relevant when the Game Boy was released, so maybe... Shit.
I have officially hit rock bottom.
Bubsy 2 on the Game Boy is definitely Bubsy 2, alright. It has the same problems as the 16-bit version. The stages are easier to navigate through and are more linear, but the hit detection is somehow even worse. Bubsy sometimes can only take 3 hits and sometimes only 1. There are only 9 levels, with 3 themes repeating. You fight the same boss 3 times with no changes. All the stages exist in a black void, and as a reward for beating the game you get a game over screen. Amazing! Also, I think this game might not be finished.
Aw, this is what I live for!
I don't think this game needs much of an introduction, but screw it, I'll do it just in case. Bubsy 3D was a game that was supposed to bring Bubsy back into relevancy, after the mishaps that were Bubsy 2 and Bubsy Fractured Fairy Tales. Before it started development, there was another Bubsy game in production called Bubsy 3. At least I think. Not much is known about that project besides it existing, which might not even be true. It was apparently really good and completed, but didn't release due to nobody wanting to publish it, which I don't believe it really ever existed because, first, Accolade always published Bubsy games themselves. The only one that they didn't was the Jaguar one, but that's because they only licensed the property. And second, nobody seems to know if they work on this game or not. Anyway, I don't even know why I'm mentioning it. Like, who cares? Really. Back to Bubsy 3D. The game was developed for PlayStation 1 and was being developed for the Sega Saturn, but due to poor sales and reception it was cancelled. For the Sega Saturn, that is. It was one of the first 3D platforms ever and has shaped the genre just like Crash Bandicoot and Super Mario 64, but unlike those games it's considered one of the worst games of all time. So, naturally, I played it. And the game starts with this 3-minute long intro where the villains of the game have a meeting like they are a Legion of Doom or something like that, and talk about how Bubsy sucks and how they are gonna steal all the yarn balls from Earth. Then Bubsy appears and he's like, haha, I'm here! And the game starts. I heard that people find this cutscene extremely boring, but I find it funny.
We anticipate having recaptured the creature in 2 shakes of a dogfish's tail. Any questions?
What does it want? What did we ever do to it?
We have our best people in woolly intelligence working on...
Actually, I find the whole game funny. I find Bubsy's animation funny, the music. The graphics, the title cards, the bosses, the enemies. All of them are just so goofy that I can't hate them. The first thing you will probably notice when starting the first level are the interesting graphics. Yeah, this game definitely looks way different than other games. I'm going to sound insane when I say this, but believe it or not, I like these graphics. I'm always a fan of games that look weird and unusual. It's like the reason why I really love the Fancy Pants series, the Just Radio series, and the Hylix series. I just really like games that have like a unique style to them. And everything in Bubsy 3D looks incredibly abstract. The floor, the enemies, Bubsy himself. Even the music is abstract. Like, let's be honest here. Have you ever seen a game that looks like Bubsy 3D? No! There's flying arrows everywhere. This world doesn't feel like a place that could exist. It's something that looks like a weird dream, which I do find kind of cool. I wish somebody would make a game where they take this style and make it even more extreme looking. The music helps a ton to convey this. All the tracks sound weird, and with the enemies making strange sounds all the time, it all ends up being a game that's chaotic, but beautiful in my eyes. For this game, I'm going to go over every single stage and boss in detail since I feel like it's necessary for this game in particular. So the first is sort of a tutorial level. There's these question marks all over the place. When you touch one, Bubsy will explain a part of the game.
Now, what would a platform game be without platforms? I wonder if there's any extra lives up there.
I heard people say that he is obnoxious in this game, constantly talking with no end to it, but that's completely not true. Sure, he talks a ton in the first stage, since it's the tutorial, but in the other, surprise surprise, he barely says a thing. He actually talks so little that I sometimes wonder if his voice is on. But no, it is turned on in the options. Oh yeah, and if you don't like Bubsy talking, you can just mute him in the options. In the first stage you get to learn the basic mechanics you will be using throughout the whole game. Bubsy's jump has this nice snappy feel to it, and after a while I got used to how to land where I want. They tried to replicate the same speed jump that he had in Bubsy 1, where Bubsy gains speed after a while and can jump further thanks to it. It works, but it needs getting used to, so you don't fall off platforms by an accident. Luckily, just like in Bubsy 1, it's not something that you have to use to clear any obstacles. I do think the game's camera should be a bit faster. The game uses tank controls, which didn't feel like an issue at all until the end mark of the game. I feel like the game is designed with those controls in mind, and the jump mechanics as a matter of fact benefit from the game using these type of controls. Later on you really do start feeling like the camera turning is too slow though. There's way too many enemies at once and it just ends up with you jumping all over the place and having to memorize entire sections of levels. I like how the camera changes when you jump though. It gives you a better idea of where your character is going to land and where your drop shadow is. Bubsy, just like in all previous games, has the glide move. You use it by pressing the triangle button. Bubsy will make a short jump and start gliding in the air. This move is really situational. It's to prepare yourself upward with those fun things and during one boss fight. I rarely used it for any platforming. While it does give you more control over where Bubsy is going to land, it's also really slow. There are also these atoms in this game, which Bubsy can aim and throw at enemies. To do that you have to hold the square button before touching the atom and while touching it. After Bubsy grabs it, you can let go of the button and he will shoot it in the direction you are facing. If you hold it for too long, the atom will explode and hit you. If you don't hit anything with it, the atom will bounce back and hit you if you don't jump out of the way quickly. You can also collect the atoms. 50 atoms gives you an extra hit point, 100 gives you an extra life, and 200 teleports you to a bonus stage where you can earn more lives. Something cool I found out while playing is that when you are holding an atom, the atom blocks you from all the projectiles that the enemies might shoot at you. It doesn't guard you after firing it, so be careful about that. I like this concept of the collectors being something that you can actively use as a weapon. Again, I would love to see something like that in future platformers, because I think it's pretty neat. Bubsy can take 4 hit points before losing a life, which I think is perfect here. It's not too little where you feel extremely frustrated, and it's not too much where you feel like it's too easy and you can just tank through everything. In any case, the first stage is pretty good. It's an easy level that allows for tons of mistakes and gets you well, thanks to there being these arrows all over the place. You know, now that I look back at it, it looks extremely funny how I tried to get the feeling for the controls in this stage. I mean, look at this. I forgot to mention, but I like how you can do these little hops with the shoulder buttons to position yourself better. The second stage is more of the same. I learned how the fans work in this game now. I started to actually be able to jump on the enemies without getting hit first. There's also these UFOs flying around the stage, and they scare me quite a bit because of the speed they are moving at, but they also seem to always move in a way that doesn't hit me. Maybe I'm just lucky, I don't know. I found this lightning shield thing which granted me invincibility, and I reached the goal. Cool stage. It was pretty fun. The first level introduces instant death gaps, which made me realize that I must be more careful about what I'm doing, otherwise... I heard that these death animations are annoying to some, but even if they were, which they aren't, you can immediately skip them when they appear by pressing the X button. After losing like 7 lives to this section, I finally got through it and got to the goal without much of an issue. I'm starting to realize that you have to be always patient with this game. It's not something that's like a complaint or anything, but you definitely have to think before you act, because sometimes it's not obvious where you're supposed to jump. The next stage is a boss fight with this yellow nerd woolly. He fires... piss? Vomit? I think it's vomit. Regardless, he shoots something at you, and to hit him you have to fly off of it and hit his head. Do that 3 times and it's over. This boss took me like 3 tries to beat, because of the way he shoots. I couldn't figure out how to dodge his attacks, but after a while I learned it, and it was quite easy after that. Is that guy flying on a calculator? Bro, this game is fucking awesome. You've got a guy who flies on a calculator and vomits at you. You've got the main character that looks like he has 2 brain cells when you pause the game. You've got the enemies that just stare at you and look at you menacingly. There are UFOs that move faster than the speed of light, and a world that looks like an acid trip. This game is a masterpiece. In the 5th stage you control Bubsy underwater. You have an air meter here, which you can replenish by collecting these air tanks. There's 3 stages that are like that in the whole game, and they're weird. I wouldn't call them bad per se, but I wouldn't call them great either. They're extremely big, but unless you are going from 100%, then there's no point in going off the main path at all. As long as you are finding new air tanks, then that means you are on a right path. So they aren't confusing, fortunately. And you do have a way of defending yourself by pressing the triangle button, which makes you do this big sprint, which costs 50 seconds of Bubsy's air. All of these water levels feel kind of the same, and they are all quite easy. Moving on, stage 6 introduces palm trees, which I like, because when you jump on one, the enemies don't want to shoot you anymore. This stage took me a long time to beat because of this one section, which is pretty difficult. Also, by an accident I learned that Bubsy jumps further sideways, because why not? Also, I learned that the best way to deal with the enemies that stand in one place is to let them shoot and then jump instead of immediately trying to kill them. These arrows help this game a ton. If not for them, I would have absolutely no idea where the hell am I supposed to go. Oh, and one last thing is that there are these switches that sometimes appear in the stages. The last time I saw one, it was in level 1. Touching them seems to make whatever the hell the world was thought of. In the first stage it destroyed a wall, and this time it created a platform. I'm guessing that the intent is that whenever you can't find a way to progress, there is a switch hidden somewhere in plain sight that will create a way to pass further into the stage. It's kind of the same thing that Bubsy 2 did, except it's not us. Because, first, this is a 3D game, so you can see more. Second, the levels feel way smaller than in that game. Third, also the level design isn't total dog shit. The next stage is underwater level. I've got nothing to add that wasn't already said, besides the fact that I beat it in like 2 minutes, so let's just move on. The 8th stage is great. There are lots of these conveyor things and moving platforms, which are a nice challenge. It's easy to tell where you're supposed to go, and this is also where I feel like I mastered these controls and the use of the greatest ledge grab in history. This ledge grab must have saved me from dying like 1,000 times. I'm not kidding. I've got nothing more to add. It's a fun but difficult stage. The 9th stage is an underwater stage.
Tonight's the night. And it's going to happen again and again. Has to happen.
The 10th stage is kind of like the 8th, but slightly harder. It's fun too, and I found a really weird thing. It's Bubsy. The 11th stage is another boss fight. This time it's an elephant. I really like how in this game you face aliens, UFOs, bolts of lightning, and a normal ass elephant. Anyway, this boss is hard. First you have to figure out that after jumping on its head the crowd throws a banana at you, and after that you have to guide the elephant toward it. Once it starts this sliding animation, it will hit one of the fences. I think it has to hit one of the fences at least 3 times for it to be over. So if you were really unlucky, you would have to damage him like 9 times, which is crazy. Also, the arena is too small, so I kept touching the fence by an accident. I eventually beat it, but damn was this difficult. Took me like 15 minutes. Still a good boss though. 7 out of 10. The 12th stage starts with you having to hit this sun lightning thing with an atom. Then I found an interesting glitch. Then I had to go through a gauntlet of enemies like 4 or 5 times because I couldn't make this jump, and in the meantime I also got hit from under this exact platform, which, wow, sure is fun. Then I realized I was supposed to touch a switch here. After that I reached this section which was really confusing because the arrows were gaslighting me into directions that led nowhere, and at last I reached the end goal after getting through another crazy gauntlet of enemies. Decent stage, but I wish it wasn't so big and confusing. I think I spent like 5 minutes just looking around and trying to find a way to move forward. Stage. Please look up a tutorial for this level and remember that by pressing the circle button you can crouch, and that for some reason makes the camera change to a better one while doing it in a spaceship. Avoid the fucking pain that I had to go through while playing this shitty ass level. I beg of you. 40th stage. From this point forward this game becomes one of the hardest and stressful games I ever played. Still fun though. You first have to go through a pretty hard run through a mob of enemies. After that there's this spider guy. It's best to do nothing when riding him. Then I got through this pretty difficult platforming section where this flying shit killed me like 2 times. Press the switch and go ride the spider. Then there's another marathon. These snake enemies are so scary, man. They're incredibly hard to dodge and really fast. I eventually figured out that the best tactic is to jump diagonally, because they got confused for no reason. I wish I didn't have to get like 3 game overs before I learned this. Anyway, I learned a new trick while doing this platforming segment. The trick is that if you press the glide button immediately after jumping, you can, well, glide, but now you can cover a bigger distance than if you only press the glide button or just the jump button. I went through more of the same stuff and got to the goal. Pretty cool level overall, besides the fact that I feel like I'm gonna turn into Bubsy goo in a second. Stage 15th is weird. The spaceships return, but they aren't that bad anymore. The stage is pretty easy actually compared to the last few, if you're not an idiot like me, who went for the rocket by an accident. Still, it's nice to get a breather once in a while in this game. Stage 16th gave me diarrhea. You've got everything here. Fast moving platforms, bottomless pits, and enemies everywhere. Also there's this. I still don't know how I did this. I got through it somehow, but damn was the stressful and hard. This one stage took me like almost 15 minutes to beat. I'm not kidding, it's that hard. Stage 17th. It was pretty hard at first, but after learning the crouch trick, it wasn't that difficult. It's an okay level, but nothing special. Stage 18th. The last one. The stage begins with you having to get through this corridor filled with shooting turrets. It might seem like hell from the looks of it, but it's actually quite easy. I do get hit at least once during this section no matter what though. Then you fight a one and only, in this game, mini-boss. You have to jump on these platforms quickly and jump on its head at the end. Do that 3 times and it's finished. It took me a few tries, but after a while I got it. Then there's this section that seems quite scary at first, but you can literally go to the right and go through a really easy path with like nothing going on. After that you have to press these 4 switches in the right order: green, blue, red, yellow. How do I know that? By trial and error. I don't know how to do it otherwise. I don't know how you are supposed to do it otherwise. Seriously. This part fucking sucks. I don't think even the developers know why it is like that. And it sucks because there's also these little bugs running around somehow even faster than the stage guys, which were already really fast. After that you go to the teleporter, and now it's time. The final challenge. The last step to beating Bubsy 3D. One of the hardest games I've ever played in my life. And it is hard. 2 big aliens versus 1 bobcat. They shoot at you at such speeds that you may as well have fucking spider sense if you dodge at least once. They teleport all over the place like they have instant transmission or something. To even be able to hit them, you have to press the switch in the middle of the arena, and then jump to the nearest atom to pick it up. Not collected by accident. Find where the hell are these freaks and shoot them. My ass got absolutely cooked, demolished, fried, like 20 times here. But each time I got up and tried again. Each time I got my ass kicked and demolished, I got back up again, and again. Slowly getting better, slowly learning the patterns, slowly finding the way. My arms were sweaty, my breath heavy, my arms focused, barely blinking, my fucking palms were mouth spaghetti. My mind seeing the invisible, touching the untouchable, now beating the unbeatable, doing the impossible. Row, fight the power. And then, it happened. I beat it. I beat Bubsy 3D. One of the hardest, one of the weirdest and surprisingly fun games I ever played. I'm not gonna talk about the ending because it's really anticlimactic and kind of sucks. I couldn't hear it anyway when I beat the game because of the exhaustion for fighting the final boss. I was way too focused on calming down and focusing on my breath. So, overall, after beating the whole game, is it the worst game ever made? Hell no! I think what made it seem that way is definitely the way it looks, plus it being really hard. I do like having a game with a really weird art direction, but that wasn't really something that was common back then. I mean, now you have like shit tons of video games by indie devs and even major companies that try doing unique styles and shit, but back then it wasn't that common. I mean, sure, you had interesting art styles, but nothing as crazy as today. The gameplay is actually really solid, surprisingly. The music is pretty good, but again, it is weird. The presentation is funny, the stages are mostly fun while still being really challenging. I'm going to sound crazy, but I actually really like this game, unironically. I genuinely find it fun to play, and I might 100% it someday, when I have the time. It has the challenge that I crave when playing a video game. It has an experimental art style and gameplay that I absolutely adore. It's just a really weird game, made for weird people, in a weird era where 3D was just starting back then. I guess you can call me weird then. So, after Bubsy 3D bombed in every way possible, there were no Bubsy games until 2017. Besides there being like a shitty port on Steam in 2015 of the first two Bubsy games. But in 2017, they released Bubsy Woolly Strike Back. It was developed by Black Forest Games. They are the guys that made the Destroy All Humans remake on Steam. Yeah, that one. It's on screen now. Anyway, I have it on Steam, so I played the game. I actually almost finished this game like a year ago, but stopped last time because I couldn't do a deathless run on the second boss, and I just kinda didn't want to play it anymore. The story this time is that Bubsy found a golden yarn ball and the Woolly stole it, so now Bubsy has to get it back. That's it. There is no more story than that. You start with a tutorial stage. Bubsy can jump, do a glide, which also acts as a double jump, and a pounce move. The pounce move makes Bubsy fly forward with practically no control. It's really good for hitting enemies. The moveset is pretty nice and Bubsy doesn't feel bad to control, but it takes a bit to get used to. When he turns or stops, it feels kind of weird, like kind of mechanical. I guess that would be a good way to describe it. The game has only two power-ups. A black shield that gives Bubsy an extra hit point, which I'm fond of, and an extra life shield. The extra life shield is really useless. You always start the stage with 9 lives, and these stages are so easy that you will never need more than that. The music is okay. I don't have much to say about it. There are some nice tracks, but nothing memorable. Unlike Bubsy 3D. The graphics are okay too. I like how the environment looks, but the Woolies look kinda weird to me, and Bubsy doesn't look like Bubsy to me. He kinda looks like a character that's supposed to be his cousin, brother, something like that. Not Bubsy. I won't go over the stages like I did with Bubsy 3D because they aren't memorable at all here. They all kinda feel the same. I did a little experiment when playing this game compared to the last time I did. The last time I played it, I was going for all the collectibles, trying to 100% it, you could say. This time, however, I tried to just get through the game as fast as possible. And I learned something quickly. If you are not trying to go for the collectibles, then this game's level design becomes atrocious. In every stage you can literally just get through it without any challenge whatsoever, by pressing right and occasionally jumping. I mean, look at this slightly sped up clip of me playing one of the last stages of the game. It shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be that when you don't try to go looking for the collectibles, that the game becomes a walking simulator. The bosses in this game are just bad. Plain bad. They aren't hard at all, because you have way too many lives by default. It's really hard to tell when and what they are going to do next. Plus, some of these attacks are straight bullshit. Final verdict. Don't buy it. The game is really meh, with nothing special going on. Also, it took me literally 1 hour and 10 minutes to beat it, where the last 20 minutes I spent fighting the final boss because its fight takes like 10 minutes and I lost all my lives once due to shitty attacks that the boss does. I feel like this game was made like really quickly just to capitalize on the fact that Mario Odyssey and Sonic Forces was coming the same year. So they just fucking made whatever the hell and bam, it costs now like $15-20. Buy it. In 2019 they made another Bubsy game called Bubsy Pass on Fire. It was made by the guys that make the Runner series, and this game looks like total garbage. And the horrible side characters from Bubsy to return. And it costs $25. I'm not playing this. I would rather buy Big Rigs Over the Road Racing instead. At least that would be funny. So that's it. That's all Bubsy games covered in one video. There is a collection of all old Bubsy games coming out somewhere this year by Limited Run Games, which are known for mixed quality when it comes to re-releases of old games. So we'll see how it goes, I guess. This was a pretty fun journey, even if it was a bit painful at times, playing through all those games. But hey, I did find something that I liked, so it's not all bad. There are good Bubsy games. There's at least one, but for me there's two. There's two games that are good. I hope I get to see this Bobcat once more, even if it was a cameo. Actually, now that I think about it, that would be in character. Like, he's supposed to be this failed, unknown Hollywood star, so, you know, him appearing in just other projects, like, as a cameo would just work. Like, you know, there's like, you get a character that's like, that appears for like 5 seconds and he thinks he's a star, suddenly. Anyway, oh, the video is over. No. Go listen to my music or something. I have the second channel. I'm going to take a nap. I'm tired. Peace. See ya.
Was it something I said? What could possibly go wrong?
Forget about that. Let's talk about the new one. Bubsy 4D. Now this I like. You know I've only got one brain cell, right? And it's working overtime on this baby. Atari? I didn't even know they were still around.